old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
We're gonna get a little bit crazy, wild and maybe even vulgar if you please. It's after dark and we're gonna light it up. Got some fun in store for you, no tease. It's time for Midnight Edge. After dark, a little naughty, will hopefully make you chuckle, but we ain't trying to hurt nobody, so get ready quick on the double, cause it's time for Midnight Edge. After dark.
Oh yeah! Looks like we're trading up on Star Trek or down. We'll find out. And Seth Rogen says movies will last forever because people still go to the museum. And more! It's time to get wild, freaky, funky, all that shit, spunky maybe even, on Midnight's Edge After Dark. Place where we get a little goofy, a little kooky, a little naughty, all that stuff that the song said. Welcome, everybody. It looks like Clobbering Times is dressed for the occasion and ready to roll already. Make it so, or however you want to say it, Clobby. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon,
Captain.
whatever it is.
Yes, Captain. Thanks for having me on the bridge.
Indeed. We're glad to have
my
you
friends. My friends on the bridge and my friends in the chat. Welcome. Clobber on.
I think he'll draw the line here and we'll go no further when it comes to Star Trek, but we'll find out in just a few minutes here when we get on that. Yes, indeed. Welcome, Clobby. How you been?
Oh, all right, man. Just a long day, and it was the end. It was going to be the end for me if I didn't find some way to have a really good, fun time. And I knew there was only one place, and it's right here with my Midnight's Edge buddies. And now I'm better.
Excellent. Well, hopefully it lasts because I am having rolling thunderstorms going on right now. And hopefully I don't lose power or internet.
That means it might come for me next.
Oh my.
Yeah. I don't know. You might be able to hear it through the mic, but
ouch.
We got CC in the house. Anybody who knows anything about inclement weather.
It's raining here. I just there's a video game I was looking forward to, and of course the reviews are out, and everyone's praising the DEI. So that's just been getting me down all day. I was like, oh,
what game is this?
I saw it coming, but the remake of Paper Mario. They made some changes to the script from the original, and so sure enough, I'm sure it is a good game. It was in the first place, but I'm looking at all the critic reviews, and they're all like, "This is such a win for rights and DEI and all." And it's like, yeah, okay. They took out.
What is Mario like an
things.
Asian trans person now, or what?
No, it's not that egregious. They just took out problematic language.
He's a black Jewish Jap.
They toned down some of the stuff that I guess wouldn't wouldn't be proper for.
What would you have to tone down in Mario?
His mustache was too big.
Well, the male Goombas were saying the female Goomba was quite pretty, and you can't do that anymore. So now the female Goomba is all.
Are you being serious?
Oh, I'm being serious. Now the female Goomba
I thought you were joking for a second.
No,
it's all like,
it's true.
You can't call me that.
That's why I had to actually have to ask if you're serious nowadays. You never know.
I can't tell what's parody anymore either. But this is serious. Yeah.
Clown World.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Stop the Planet of the Apes. I want to get off. Price of Reason is here. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Glad to hear that. Sound like you got a bit of a cold. We might as well get the get it out in front right away since I know you're so worried about it. And then he's like all silent now. He's like, why did you bring that up?
Oh.
Or did he accidentally? Now we can hear you. Now we can hear you.
Oh, something weird happened. In any case, what I was saying, that's so weird. What I was saying is that if you have bad weather and you disappear from the stream, that happened once, and then we had a big party. So we'll be okay even if that happens.
All right. And we also have, and speaking of the life of the party, Nick Weiser's here.
Hey, what's up, Tom? Hello, Clobby, CC Price,
buddy.
Hello, chat. Yeah, I mourn for my gamers and I mourn for my Star Trek friends. It just seems like the DEI is infestation and it needs an exterminator. It needs a punisher, if you will.
Yes. He will break you.
It's a work in progress.
Yes.
Had to do a subtle nod as a plug to tonight's Toxic Tuesday, by the way, in case you didn't catch
Talking about the Dolph Lundgren
Punisher. Yeah. So should be fun. Talk about that in 2 hours. Yeah. Oh crap! Wow, man, today moved by.
I'm hoping to join you a little bit if the weather and other things.
I hope you come.
Cooperate. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear the weather or not, but it's getting nasty here.
I can hear you right now. At my window, we got brightened sun, and I'm thinking, wow, Tom is not even 3 hours from me, and the possibility is this. If this isn't hitting me now, it might get me tonight or tomorrow morning. So we shall see.
Oh, I see Geary in the chat.
Geary.
Hi, Geary.
He had a birthday recently. Happy birthday.
He did. Happy birthday, Geary.
I use Jagary, I call him.
Jagary. Yeah, I come up with something every time. Goddess of Whim's in the house, sending in $5. Thank you for that, Goddess of Whim. To Simon Kinberg. That's right. I thought he died with the Dark Phoenix. Well, he can't do worse to Trek than Kurtzman.
His career probably we thought was, but yeah.
Well, that's the question we're asking ourselves. Well, you know what? He did make another movie after Dark Phoenix.
He did.
That 355 movie. You guys remember that thing?
355.
That's exactly my point. It was that movie about like the women doing the heist or whatever. It had like Jessica
305,
Chastain.
I think. I think it was 305.
I think it was a 355, but it could have been the 305, maybe.
Maybe I'm wrong. Listen, if it ends up being 355, I wouldn't bet you money on it because I could be wrong.
It was 186. That's all that matters.
Right. It was really crappy. I know the one with Jessica Chastain.
So it made $355 at the box office.
$355. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. I could be getting the actual. Yeah, who knows? Maybe it only made 305.
It was about making long distance phone calls.
Yeah, right.
Why did these guys
1-800 collect the movie?
It was an area code movie.
How come these guys keep failing upwards? I mean, why can't we get rid of these people? Not get rid of them physically, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, why won't
I'm surprised they let him back in the door after he apologized to us for Dark Phoenix. And speaking of people coming in the door, we have a scrimmage in the house.
Wait a second. Right. That was a bit more innuendo than I expected in my arrival.
I was gonna say
that did sound like very innuendo-ish, didn't it? I'm sorry.
It did just a little bit. Yeah, coming in the door, guys. That's yeah. Hello.
Oh, now you led into it with coming in through the door.
Hey, you might as well embrace it. Hey. If Tom's going to throw it at me, I might as well catch it.
Speaking of backdoors, we got Pop Culture Minefield also becoming a member. Thank you for that backdoor, Geary. Appreciate that.
I just checked, Tom, and you're right. It is the 355. I completely made a mistake and thought it was 305.
I figured it was because I just looked it up earlier, so I was pretty sure. But we got a minimum effort puppy from Geary, because of course that's all he would give us is the minimum effort. And Jen, who's become a maximum effort puppy. So of course we do the maximum effort puppy and the minimum effort puppy sticker here. Let's see here. We got the maximum effort puppy. Here you go. This little guy is going to get up those stairs
You can
with
do
maximum
it.
effort.
Yay!
Yes. Yeah.
He's gonna figure it out. And strike.
Yeah.
And of course, Mikey's favorite, because he says this is Bambino. We have minimum effort puppy for Geary.
Oh.
We're gonna be doing this.
Yeah.
The guy behind him is just ready to go. He's like waiting. He's like, I'm a maximum effort puppy. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate that. We just did a member stream. Actually, you know what? I wonder if Six is listening, because she usually likes to give me shit for not doing anything for your members. If you are a member, if you haven't checked lately, in memory of a recent death we had, we are showing Little Shop of Horrors, the original Roger Corman classic, in color and black and white. Take your pick and high definition. It's only available to members now, but I'm going to be thinking about getting together like a panel to do kind of a commentary on it. So maybe we'll watch it with you guys and then we'll drop it for everybody at that point. But for now, it's only available to members. So there you go. And then we got Nicholas Horton sending in a members chat. Speaking of members, who's been here for 31 months. Hail, Planet of the Apes actually exists. It's known as the Writer's Room in Hollywood in general. POTA is a franchise that's still not ruined yet. Technically, you're right. Yeah, those writers' rooms are full of monkeys on typewriters. You're not wrong. Oh, Lord. Speaking of monkeys on typewriters.
Yeah, boy.
That takes us to the main topic. Simon Kinberg.
Sorry, go ahead. He's impressive. Look at that list. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. Is in talks to produce Star Trek for Paramount. Notice it says movie franchise. Let's get into this story. I'll run through.
Let's be fair. You can't destroy something that's already been destroyed.
That's true.
Yeah, can you get worse than a fireplace in the captain's quarters?
Well,
This
listen,
guy was challenging them by saying
he's
that.
got Fan Forstic on his resume. Just leave it at that.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And isn't Kurtzman and Abrams still involved in this? Or Abrams is involved? There's some annoying another caveat.
You're very correct. Longtime X-Men producer Simon Kinberg is beaming up to a new franchise. Shit. Don't quit your day job, Eaton.
This is like a greatest hits of failure. This is like who failed here, who failed there. Oh, you failed too. Oh, we got you too. Oh,
it's the Avengers of failures.
Oh, all right, come on board.
Yeah. Simon Kinberg is setting phasers to thrill.
Oh my
nuts.
God. The multi-hyphenated is the multi-hyphenate. That's what I was talking about earlier. Is like he's a creative producer, like Alex Kurtzman, Akiva Goldsman, and J.J. Abrams.
I always hear the same four names, and they haven't made one good thing in 20 years. Why do they keep hiring them? It's really annoying.
I wish I knew. You had what's his face? We're missing one member here. And that is what's his face?
Which one? Matt Reeves or Lindelof?
No, Lindelof's a good one though. But
or a bad one. Yeah.
The guy who wrote the damn Nolan movies, the Batman ones.
Oh, Terrio?
No, not Terrio.
No,
the other one. Or not the Batman ones. The Batman v Superman one. God damn, what is his name?
David Cobb.
Oh, yeah,
Goyer. Thank you, Nick.
David Goyer.
Goyer.
Is he involved?
David
Ding
Goyer.
Dong Goyer. Yes.
Man, bring him in. Bring him
Mr.
in.
David Demonic Toys Goyer.
David S. Dumbass Goyer.
Yes. For those who don't know, he got his start writing demonic toys for Full Moon Features.
And then he wrote a DC comic book where he was proud that he had Superman renounce his American citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
So anyway, the multi-hyphen is in talks to produce a new Star Trek feature for Paramount Pictures. The Hollywood Reporter has confirmed. If all goes well, the door would open to him taking active creative roles on the rest of the storied franchise film side.
Yay.
Interesting. Alex Kurtzman and Akiva Goldsman are the main creative producers on Star Trek television side. Oh, so they're doing a new separation here, huh? The project Kinberg would step into is already a very inactive development. So this is Star Trek 4, guys. Toby Haynes, who directed episodes of Star Wars series Andor, is on board to direct the new feature, with Seth Graham Smith writing the script. The project is said to be set decades before the events of the 2009 film. Movie was directed by J.J. Abrams, likely around modern times. It is
said to involve the creation of Starfleet and humankind's first contact with alien life.
Well, that
So
could
in
not
other
possibly go
words,
wrong.
First
they're doing shit
Contact.
we've already fucking seen in Enterprise and First Contact.
Yeah. So if
Right.
the Abrams universe, if its division point from the original series timeline was Kirk's birth, effectively, then everything before that should have already been established, like you said, by First
Exactly.
Contact, Enterprise, etc. So
None of it
it is
counts.
it's a reboot of the past for a future that was already
Don't even do that to yourself. It's
I
filth
know.
is what it is. And here's the thing. Look, forget about my bias and how much I hate the 09 piece of trash. That movie actually did okay at the box office, inexplicably, because it's filthy trash, but it did. And then they made 2 more movies that did not. So they're going to keep. Why do you, usually when something is unsuccessful 2 times in a row, things don't get made. This is like the coach has like 4 years of losing seasons, and they just go, let's sign him with 1 more. He might win this time. He might get to the Super Bowl this time. And then he doesn't, but you go, well, 1 more year. Let's extend that contract because he might get us there next year. He sucks, but that's this. It's like, sorry, folks, no one's going to go watch this crap. Regardless of how much I hate it, forget about me. They don't care about my demo or anyone here. But they make these TV shows. No one's watching that shit either.
The writer of this one brought us the Lego Batman movie, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and Dark Shadows, amongst other things.
I'm sold.
Boy, those are all winners. In fact, I was so disappointed by Lego Batman. I'm like, how do you make this that uninteresting?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Considering he was the best part of the Lego movies.
Yeah. Well, they can do anything. They can make anything interesting, Tom.
Well,
don't challenge him.
Still involved, so we know that there is no release date for the feature, but the studio has signaled that it would like to like a 2025 opening. So now, here we are on what, like the 18th, just Star Trek 4 announcement. Basically, this is technically point 2 or part 2 of the last announcement we had. So now we know who's working on that new version that they were talking about a few weeks ago. Kinberg joining the crew. But do you guys think this is actually going to fucking happen, or do you think it's more of this we're used to?
No, sir. I'll take
it.
It's never going to happen.
Probably won't come out.
Yeah.
If it does, it'll be a huge bomb. Huge.
I mean, at the bare minimum, it's not coming out in 2025.
No.
And they need to start shooting already. You're right.
With the Paramount merger talks and everything else, this sucker risks being put into development hell anyway, doesn't it?
Well, and that's what I think this is all about. I think this is more to sweeten the pot for whoever's going to be Paramount.
They wheel this out every time. Every time there's some kind of talk, there's some kind of investors meeting, there's anything, they talk about Star Trek 4, about J.J. Abrams, about all these people. They know they can talk about them because they're unemployable, so they can just say they're doing this movie, and who would even know?
That's a good point.
Yeah, but
meaning they can't say Tarantino is making a Star Trek movie because people know that'll be nonsense now. But if they say Simon Kinberg, who's going to even fact check it? And even if you did, what's there to fact check? He was in charge of a bunch of bombs, and he's another loser like all.
And
those
not
other
just
losers.
that. Yeah, I mean, really, if you look at it in a way, in Hollywood's eyes, him going from X-Men to Star Trek is a step back. It's a step down. In fact, it's kind of probably 2 or 3 steps
big
down.
time.
And I know I hate saying it, but that's just because Paramount has never realized in the last 30 years, at least, or 20 years, what kind of franchise they have under their belt. They did know for a while in like the 80s and 90s, or part of the 90s, I should say, where they treated it with some respect, and they made a lot of money off it. I mean, Klobby, you would know probably more than anybody here, I would imagine. But that was kind of the height of Star Trek. You had more shows, more movies, more toys, more comics, more everything than you probably ever had in the history of Star Trek ever between 1979 and 2005, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, you had the original crew films. TNG eventually picked up, did well in syndication. Yes, but the TNG movies did not do very well. Did not perform super well.
They did okay, but yeah,
they didn't. I mean, First Contact did all right, but they weren't world beaters by any stretch. Because,
no, not even close.
You had so much Trek on television at that point, but the 90s, I mean, the screens were better or worse, were flooded with Star Trek. I mean, every single year of that decade had a Star Trek series or 2 on the air, and they had, like you said, toys were bigger than ever as far as sales. reruns of the originals. Yeah, it was just and sales of the 80s movies on VHS and then later DVD. Yeah, it was huge at that point. And I guess
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say was it Generations was always not particularly favored by fans.
No.
And as much as I enjoyed First Contact when it came out, I mean, they gave the Borg a queen.
It's kind of aged like bread,
yeah. They completely undermined one of the best villains
as
in
an
the
action
series.
sci-fi feature. It's fun, but yeah, you're right. It doesn't fit within the Star Trek very well.
That's because Star Trek belongs on TV. It doesn't belong in movie theaters. I'm sorry, it just never will be. You tell better stories. You tell more Star Trek like stories with the TV format, the shorter story format. Because let's face it, with a movie, you get it every couple of years, and you got to save the universe every time. You got to be exciting. You got to get butts in the seats. You got to blow up the universe every couple of years with that kind of story. But that's not what Star Trek is about.
In the movies, from my understanding, sorry, I know Scribe, you were going to say something before. I'll just finish this real quick. Like the movies, from my understanding, because I think RLM has kind of nailed how most hardcore fans feel about how they change. The problem is the TNG movies, not the TOS movies so much, but the TNG movies changed the characters from what they were from the series for no good reason.
Especially Picard. Yeah, they did. But he liked that. He wanted him to be more of an action star because he had no respect for what was being.
Anyway, you were saying Scribbles. Yeah, you were.
Well, I was going to say, you said something about him. This is a demotion in a way. Well, maybe, but if I'm reading this correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kinberg just got offered, hey, would you like to become the Kevin Feige of Star Trek? Because he's producing the entire franchise. So that would give him more control over the IP than he would have had just in piecemeal with X-Men, correct?
Well, technically no, because if you go back and look, he was kind of the producing shepherd through the last decade of X-Men and Fantastic Four stuff. That was kind of why we were all groaning over this guy.
Well, maybe Marvel wouldn't give him his job back for the new
he's going from two bigger Marvel franchises down to Star Trek now. And I know in some fans' eyes, they're going to be like, well, that's either a lateral move or a move up. But it's like, no, if you really think about it, box office wise, how popular the X-Men are, and the MCU still is to this point, even still to this point. Star Trek, plus add the damage that's been done. Right, like that's kind of what we were getting at. Like Clobby and I will be the first to tell you guys, like we know Star Trek is a niche brand, right? At best, I think the most it would bring in a year was what, $30-40 million in merchandising, which is nothing to sneeze at, but that's nothing compared to the other bigger franchises, right?
Right. No, absolutely.
One thing it definitely had going for it was a really the fan base was dedicated, and they started making amazing fan films. And I get on this topic a lot, but like Star Trek fan films were hitting an absolute pace before they got destroyed and canceled.
Yes, good stuff.
And that for me that was the end point. But I think it was probably the end point for a lot of other fans too, because you put in so much, you're invested into it so much at that point. I mean, like fans traveled to New York State en masse to participate or even just meet the people involved with this stuff, and that was just for Star Trek, and for one of the series there were
the phase ones, the ones in Georgia. I went to the set in Georgia, and then for the Star Trek Continues and Star Trek Farragut.
I mean, it's
amazing,
and then it just completely gets crushed, ended, destroyed. Kind of like, like with Star Wars, the EU, in one day, the EU was just like cut off, right? And
Star Trek stopped being sorry.
No, I was just saying, like in one fell swoop, all of the time and energy and emotional investment was just, cut off at the knees by the corporate overlords. It's what do you expect at that point as far as a fan base is concerned? People aren't gonna have the motivation or the energy to want to stick around after that, and then you go forward with all this modern crap with Strange New Worlds and all of that.
Sorry, I keep stepping on your toes. I was just thinking that when I was growing up, the Star Trek was the thinking man sci-fi, and Star Wars was sort of the fantasy swashbuckle sci-fi, and there was camps for both, and you could like one, like the other, but you respected each side. and you can't really tell the difference anymore. I mean, just you look
Yeah.
at 2009, it's a big action movie. There's no intellectualism there. There's no thought-provoking moral questions or anything. And I think like Claudia was
Yeah.
saying, this Star Trek belongs episodic. It belongs in tackling a particular topic at a particular time. And you don't get that in a movie where everything's got to be going zap pow every 2 seconds. There's no slow scenes in any modern Star Trek movies, which you lose the
Right.
entire purpose of it.
Especially now, Scribe, because it was a little bit different in the times in the 70s and the 80s when people had actual attention spans. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is one of the most beloved films of all. Forget Star Trek, just films of all time and science fiction films of all time. And there's really almost no action in it.
Yeah,
almost very little action. And that works as a standalone film. It's tough to do something like that where yes, they were fighting a threat, and it wasn't like a lot of the episodes of Star Trek that were dealing with science fiction stories, but it still was in a science fiction setting. But it worked as a film. You can't do that all the time, though. And now you can't do it at all because I don't think audiences would sit still for it because it's not. I mean, it's not slam bang action the whole time. It's characters, But
Maybe they should find a way to produce these movies for cheaper and just more quality.
What? What are you talking about? What quality?
I know, Scribe, you're being facetious there, but you're
Yes.
absolutely 100% correct, Price. And that's what Emma Watts, somebody they shit can for what reason we don't know yet, was saying a few years ago when she came out and in the press and flat out said the problem with these Star Trek movies and J.J. Abrams is that they're costing too much.
Mm-hmm.
And these movies are not actually making any more than the old films did. And the difference is the old films used to be done on a budget and they would amortize things across the board. Like you go look at the original films, they had a budget. The first film had a very bloated budget, right? And it didn't do as well as they would have liked, but it did do very well at the box office enough that it was profitable. The second film did a hell of a lot better, even though it was box office wise, I believe the same or a little less than the first film. Claudia, correct me if I'm wrong. But the big difference is that movie only cost like a half or less than half what the first movie cost because they amortized a lot of stuff from the first movie into the second film.
You mean Into Dumbness?
No. I'm talking about the original Star Trek.
Okay, yeah. Well, what happened with Trek 2? I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. Well, Trek 2, the motion picture cost about $40 million or close to that.
Exactly. Yeah, we spent about half that on.
Yes, even though I love it, it did not do that well, as you said. But so they switched over. Trek 2 was actually made in the television department, not the motion picture department, and that helped. It got the cost down big time, and it did, of course, as you know, did very well.
So profit wise, that one did very well. In fact, I think the most profitable Star Trek film is Part 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that you would be correct, sir. Absolutely, yeah. Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home. Yeah,
even the Voyage Home costs a little bit more than the other ones. That was peak Trek. And that movie just happened to come out at the right time, at the right place, with the momentum of 2 and 3 leading into it. It was just a
got great word of mouth and appealed to a lot of people who weren't necessarily Trek fans. And yet you can make it work. You can make it. Trek's
because they came to modern times, like not modern times, but like current time of the movie.
Well, and it helped keep the budget down, even though the budget was a little bit higher because of some of the effects and stuff they had to use. But overall, no, like they knew how to do it back then, and that was kind of like the equivalent of almost like a bottle episode or whatever you want to call it. When
it was Christmas time. It was released around Christmas time. It had a good vibe to it. It did well.
No, but there's something else. Even normies know who Spock is and Kirk is. Even people that don't know all the episodes, you kind of know the general characters. So if you say, okay, they're going to be here on Earth, interacting with people like you, that's enough to get
what
people
Claudia
curious.
is saying. Right, but what Claudia's also saying is it works like a Galaxy Quest kind of movie too, and I've said this before.
Right,
it works in a way where you can bring somebody into that movie who has never seen Star Trek before. You're right, Price. They may have an idea of who Kirk, Spock, and McCoy and so on are, but even if you don't, that movie works on a level of it's just some people from the future who've come to the modern day who need a whale.
They've likely
fish out of water comedy
photo. They've likely seen a photo of Spock and Kirk, even if they don't know anything about it.
Spock.
It's like, oh, these weirdos are here on Earth. That's like the most normie person that's never watched anything. It's like, oh, these kind of weirdos from the future, they're here.
And the reason I say it is, it was my gateway into Trek. In fact, that was the only Star Trek movie I watched for years. I was never a Trek fan. I didn't realize how much I would probably enjoy it until later on. Because I mean, I watched like the first film, I think, to try and get into it. And at that point, I was just like, oh, fuck this. You know, it's like, to me, that was boring. I didn't realize what it was. And then TNG, you know, in repeats and stuff, I started watching a little bit more because I'd catch them here and there. And then I started really getting into it. It was actually probably closer to the early 90s, I want to say. It was right around the, because like the first one I saw in theaters would have been Generations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point I had just finally watched all of 6 of the films, and I know I hadn't seen all the original series or TNG, obviously, at that point. But I went to it and
Sorry, go on.
No, I actually went to all the TNG movies in theaters, is what I was going to say. But yeah.
I was going to say that one of the first memories I have of watching television at all, it was watching Star Trek. I was a kid. I'm not even sure that I fully understood everything that was going on, but I absolutely remember the Enterprise and Spock and all that. And it's like an early memory.
Oh, yeah. Like, I will never argue with it. They have totally entered the ethos of, or the pantheon, or whatever you want to call it. Like, almost as famous as Santa Claus and the Beatles, or whatever you want to call it. Like, everybody knows who they are, regardless. Like, yeah, I totally agree with you. But that's the thing, is that movie was a gateway movie. It was for me. And I think it probably was for a lot of other people. And if you have friends who you want to get into Star Trek, that's the movie I tell you to start with. And I know your first knee-jerk reaction as a fan is going to be like, what do you mean? It's like, no, seriously. They will have to wrap around on things, but there's nothing in that movie for them to have to know what's going on. Right? Like all the stuff that's led up to from part 3 and 2 doesn't really matter. Right? Like, it's all kind of wrapped up. That stuff in the beginning is kind of there for the fans and whatever, but you just kind of, like I said, you just look at it as it's these people from the future who need a whale.
Well, I mean, there is the part that I think that doesn't Kirk say, you used to consider me your friend or something? Isn't there some interaction between them?
Oh, yeah, there's that stuff in the beginning that might be a little confusing for some people, but other than that, I don't think it will.
Well, yeah, the beginning part, you mean when they're still on Vulcan, after 3 months on Vulcan, they renamed the Klingon bird of prey that were going to all fly back to Earth. Yeah, there's some of that stuff, but people could sit there, and I guess it takes a while before they go to San Francisco, 1986.
Not that long, though.
But yeah,
like, you can pretty much pick up the movie if you're a non-Trek fan and seen any of the other films. You can pretty much pick it up from where they start heading back to Earth, and they get the distress call, basically.
Agreed.
Yeah, look, the original series had almost 3.5 comedies. As serious science fiction though it was, Star Trek was versatile that way. They could do a comedy, and they did some really funny comedies. Well, 3 times, 3.5 times. So this was sort of that. It was similar along those lines. It was a very lighthearted romp, and yet, it appealed to a lot of broader audience.
I wonder if you'll agree with me, Klobby. The 3 movies out of the 6 TOS movies that I feel like represent the show best, or are prolonged episodes, or whatever you want to call it, or big budget episodes, are basically the first film, 4 and 5. That's the way I feel. Like those episodes could have been those movies could have been episodes of the series, is what I'm trying to say. Blah.
Yes, well, the motion picture, a lot of people like to call it Where Nomad Has Gone Before, because it is very, it was, sort of a remake of The Changeling in some ways, but it's fine. And then, yes, Wrath of Khan. I actually love Trek 3. This is the 40th anniversary.
I love Wrath of Khan, but I don't think that would work as the episode of the series so much as, like, you look at part 1, part 4, and part 5. Those all 3 of those stories, especially because 5 and 1 share so many similarities.
But I agree with you.
All feel like they could come right out of a Star Trek episode. Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree with that. 2 and 3 are connected. 5 was based upon a premise that should not. I like almost a joke premise that should not have been made. That story should not have been done. But I'm one of the few that have a lot of problems with 6, and I get in trouble for that a lot for people.
See, 6 to me, I can see as kind of a bridge getting to like TNG feeling, if that makes sense.
Well, sort of, because it was based. We talk now a lot about how movies are on the nose politically, and I don't want to go too far into that. But Star Trek 6 for the time was plucked right out of headlines. It was based on a conversation Nicholas Meyer and Leonard Nimoy had on a beach about all the stuff going on with Gorbachev and the Cold War.
I was going to say the Cold War stuff.
It's so transparent. They have dumb lines like only Nixon could go to China. They have we could clean their chronometers. They have that was a deleted scene, I think, and they have a lot of stuff that again
I never thought of that, but
Chancellor-
that's another example of one of those movies that went too far
Well,
with the political
Klingon,
stuff. Probably,
I hated a lot of it in there. Like Kirk saying, "Let them die." That's not very Kirk. Starfleet Admiral saying Klingons become the alien trash of the galaxy. Let's see here. Other lines and other things like, Romulans and Vulcans even, and was it Klingons and humans, including human admirals in Starfleet, conspiring with quote unquote arms dealers, which are no such thing. They really were. I mean, I hated the preachiness of the film. I hated the whole story. I still have a love for it because it's Trek and it's fun to watch the characters. There you go. You got me on Trek 6. Sorry.
Didn't the original series? I mean, to be fair, didn't the original series certain episodes just kind of beat you over the head with the social commentary, very thinly veiled?
Well, yeah, one bad thing happening doesn't justify another thing happening. Yeah, I can give you a few episodes that have a problem with doing that here and there as well. But this was even bigger because this was like right there with the headlines. I mean, it was blatant, but it was very well accepted, and most people love it. So what do I know?
Well, there's a line, and you can cross it. And I've been talking a little bit more about this with certain films lately too, where, like, example, I just brought up how Planet of the Apes 2, the Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the original one.
Oh yeah,
is very left leaning, politically bent. And I noticed that especially this last time I watched it.
Oh yeah,
and they did it. That was one where it kind of went over the line. But the rest of the movies, I think, handled the civil rights stuff pretty well. That one's the one where I think it was just a little too on the nose. Like, you literally have teenage apes protesting an upcoming war. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
it's very much of the time.
Funny.
Yeah. I mean, now we can look back at it in a certain way.
Yes, it's funny now.
Like, that's a good example of where, like, it's something similar to woke, right? Like, where things went just a tad too far.
Yeah, no, look, but by the way, I don't mind. I mean, look, Star Trek messaging is great sometimes, and like, let that be your last battlefield. It's it's very on the nose, but it's not politics specific either. It's not calling out specific people, or it's not even paralleling exactly specific events. It's just saying racism is bad,
right?
And it's doing it in a crazy, campy, over the top way. But you got the Riddler in it, so you can't be beat. It's fun for that and nothing else. Although it's bizarrely directed, the episode. So, but they do it sometimes. A Private Little War is the Vietnam War. It's just ridiculous, but it's got a lot of other problems as well. But I'm just naming a couple episodes off the top of my head. So yeah, even back then, they did it, and but still, they were usually more subtle about it. Trek 6 isn't that subtle. Chancellor Gorbachev. There's a scene where McCoy in the courtroom says he was almost crying. He was our last best hope for peace. That actually happened. A woman was quoted in New York when Gorbachev made his trip to New York. She was quoted. That was from a famous quote. He put famous actual quotes of the time in the movie. I'm like, oh god.
Oh yeah, Nicholas Meyer. Look, it's been long enough now. I think I could talk about this. We cut some of this shit out of the interview, especially at the end. He went extremely political at the end, like went on full board, like anti-Trump. Pro.
He's for blackballing anyone that doesn't agree. Doesn't like his politics. He's a mess. But yeah, but
so we just left all that out. We're just like, that's not what we need here.
But yeah,
you still on good terms with him?
I talked to him maybe once since then. I honestly think, here's my assessment of what went down. I think he kind of had an idea of who we were, kind of had an idea of what I was after, knew what he was willing to give us, and he wanted to get a little bit out there, and he did. I think he just did his interview with us more as an FU to them for what they did to him.
Okay. Yes, Slithering Peanut. I'm with you there. I still like that, but Last Battlefield. I just think it's kind of a. I was like, man, it's
because he was like putting me. Yeah. He was sending me through hoops like you wouldn't believe at first. Because like it was just a happenstance that I happened to start talking to him because he just happened to be friends with somebody that I knew that was a celebrity or whatever. And so I just happened to start talking to him on Facebook, and literally it went for like. It feels like months. Maybe it was just a couple of weeks, but like months I tried getting him on an interview. Finally, he kept sending me through hoops, like literal hoops. He's like, well, I won't be interviewed by anybody who doesn't read my book or anybody who hasn't seen at least these movies. And so I did do the things he asked me to. And I finally kept bugging him about it. I'm like, okay, I've done it. And he kept being hesitant about it.
Oops, sorry.
That's all right. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere one day when I asked him finally, he goes, let's do it. I said, okay, when? He's like, now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it felt like, okay, something happened.
Uh-oh.
He, you know, like, because it's like by now you'd think if he was still in the game or somewhere close, because at that point we knew we were getting a lot of feedback that we were hated by those guys inside, because we were the first ones putting any of that stuff out there. And, you know, come to learn, lo and behold, they had to kind of run interference for us and then eventually just kind of admit that we were right this whole time, but they made sure they did it way after the fact so nobody noticed, right? So about the whole 25% thing, everything pretty much. There's a few things here and there that we still don't have bits and pieces of that I've been trying to pick up from Fuller and other things, but even Fuller, there's a gap there. So like, anyway, point being is, yeah, I feel like something went down behind the scenes. He had already gotten ousted at that point. He was waiting for his moment. Something happened that pissed him off. And the one question I nailed him on, because the other ones he was kind of flighty with or whatever, or he'd give me a lot of, what is it you really want here? What is it you're after? Or what is it like? Because he'd be like, he at one point he finally goes, I'm not going to bad talk anybody involved with the show, blah, 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 if that's what you're after or anything like that. And I mean, I don't even know where he got to that so far. So I'm like, at that point, I kind of figured, okay, he must know who the fuck we are. You know what I mean? Like, because I was asking him pretty basic questions up to that point, but I was trying to lead into like what happened with Star Trek and stuff. Like, I think I kind of tried asking like what happened between like Fuller and like you're still aboard, and I started asking him questions like, well, you know, what is it that, you know, in the first few episodes that we've seen so far that was yours, that you brought to the table and stuff like that. And I kind of already knew some of this shit because we had our hands on the early treatments and stuff. So we kind of knew what was there and what wasn't there. And he would give me answers like, well, you know, it's a real amalgamation of everybody's work, which is basically him saying none of my shit is in there. And then, and at this time I kind of figured he's still under NDA. That's probably half the reason why too. Because then I kind of got him in a corner when I finally said, here's my thing. I said, you said earlier in our conversation that you wrote all the Earth stuff on Star Trek 4, because he said, what's his face? Harv Bennett, I think it was, wrote all the space stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he wrote all the stuff when they got to Earth. So basically Harv wrote like the first half of the first act and the last half of the last act. And Nicholas wrote the second half of the first act, second act, and the first half of the third act, if that makes sense. Okay.
Sure.
So I said, in your Star Trek 4 part that you wrote, I said, there's a whole bit about colorful metaphors and how Spock and Kirk don't quite know how to swear correctly because that's no longer in the vernacular. Yet here we are only a few years removed from that in Star Trek Discovery, and there's a lot of F words and 4-letter words being used quite often in the show. And he goes, well, Tom, he goes, that's the best question anybody's asked me or you've asked me to this point. He said it's something like, it was kind of, he's like, and I really don't have an answer for that. And then he said whatever he said in the interview, but it was like, you could tell I kind of had him in the corner at that point. And, you know, it was like checkmate. He's like, I've been playing chess with this kid this whole time thinking I'm kicking his ass. And he knew how to get to there sooner or later. Like I was trying to navigate my way around something that I could go, and that was my last little ace in my, I had that sitting in my pocket going, okay, this is the one that's not going to be, he's not going to be able to weasel away from, but because I couldn't get him to like take it. That was what I was trying to do, is first get him on the hook for taking credit for anything that was on the show already. Right. Because once then I could get him on the hook for that, then I could just reel him in, but he wouldn't do that. No. He's too smart for that. And I kind of saw around that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to sacrifice my bishop or my king or something like that just to get him cornered. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those moments, but yeah. Anyway, that being said, the interview is still up.
I would love to see the Brian Fuller scripts, but it leads me into my own kind of lost
might
script
be
story.
able to get you that. I'd have to go look and see. They'd be on either my old hard drive or my old computer, but yeah.
That would be pretty amazing. Before, I used to be really into Phase 2, the fan series. because I started getting that far into Star Trek.
Don't get too
at that
excited
time.
because a lot of the same stuff is in there. Like because this was Fuller's,
Fair
like
enough.
Mikey Spock
Look.
being, you know, his half sister thingy, whatever was still there.
Yeah,
and that
Fuller's
kind of stuff.
Fuller did a lot of
Some-
dumb stuff on Voyager. So,
Like, I mean, the treatments that George wrote for his sequel trilogy could have been crap too. I mean, sometimes we're going to get let down by that, right? But like, I was really into Phase 2, and I was in contact with the people working on the show at that time, and I was invited to come down and participate in the filming, because this is back when I was in film school, and I was like, hey, I'm in the school, and I want to, hone my craft, and they're like, hey, sure, come on down. And then of course the film, the whole thing got canceled, right? But I was on track to do that. And the reason I want to bring this up is because they had some really like classic Star Trek writers on that series. And one of them was maybe the greatest of them all, DC Fontana. And they hired her before she passed away. They hired her to write a feature-length like finale for the original series, or if not final episode, penultimate episode. And
Right.
And I've heard really great things about it at the time, but obviously since it's, who knows who has it, it's buried deep, right? But it was meant to detail Kirk's affair with McCoy's daughter, and how
Joanna.
that ended their relationship leading up to the the first film. Because when the first film starts, they haven't spoken to each other in a very long time, and that was a bridge too far, right, for McCoy, that Kirk would do that. So the script exists, and it's like, if I could ever read something, I would love to read that, just to know, because she, of all people I would respect to tell that
Right.
that story, that one of those most important stories, and it gets lost, right? Because
Man, she was a treasure. She was amazing.
She worked on a lot of stuff, not just Star Trek, but yeah.
Yeah.
But that being
it's out
said, I
there
know
somewhere it is, right?
I know we
Somebody
got-
has it. So,
Yeah, that I don't have, but I know I got the other ones I could probably hook you up with. Just remind me. But we got some super chats and super stickers to go through here, and we got some other news to talk about. In fact, something that just come across that I missed earlier. That when Nick gets back here, he'll actually be able to add something too, since he's been so quiet because of the Star Trek stuff
Back.
is not his bag.
Oh,
Well,
dude,
you'll
I'm
be able to-
enjoying
You'll
listening.
be able to add to the next part. Trust me.
Okay.
All right, so let's see what we got here. Scott Westbrook, sent us a little bear guy saying, "Keep it up," lifting some weights. Like, Arnold, he said, "Keep it up. You lift the weights and you get stronger and stronger."
Shut up.
Shut up.
You.
I kill
Stop
you.
with the pineapple.
You know what's amazing is I watched that Sly documentary, and you actually have Schwarzenegger telling the story about how he tricked Sly into doing stopping.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes,
That's great
dude.
story.
It's like, I saw the
Oh,
script. I didn't want to do it. It was stupid. But I said, you know what? Watch. And I said, I still want to do it, but just because I know Sly would want to do it. He wanted to do it so bad.
and he did. I tried to finish that movie, and I can't do it.
It's
Ma, you
awful.
watch my gun. Oh God. It's one of those movies that's so bad it's good kind of thing. I don't know how to put it, like The Room almost.
I'll have to watch it again and see if I can find
It's-
the
well,
bad. Because when I think of so bad it's good, I think of Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
Yeah, not along those lines. It's just like they're trying sincerely to make a good movie, but it's not, kind of thing.
You must
Yeah.
be pretty strong if you got past my cow. Eh.
That's more satire / parody. But anyway, Joe Pat 87 sends in 499, says, "Didn't Myers also direct The Day After?" Yes, he did. It goes hand in hand with the themes in Star Trek. VI is 5, 6, right? Yeah. I had to do my math in my head for a second there. Yeah, and you know what else? Do not call it The Day After Tomorrow. He gets really pissed.
Oh.
If you fuck, I
Bad.
fucked up twice since he's like, it's the day after.
No.
Like, yes, I'm sorry. I know the other film. I know which one I mean. He's like, well. Yeah.
Wow, what a
understand.
weenie.
He was a little prickly. He was also pretty nice at the same time. Like, he was kind of both. Like, you could tell once you start getting into the stuff that if you start to really kind of tap his right sources in his brain, he just open up and just light up, right? But once he would go into like reserve mode, then he's a little prickly. So yeah.
The Day After is nothing next to Threads. You want to see a real horror nuclear apocalypse movie? Watch Threads.
I never heard of that one.
Oh, that's the British one. It came before The Day After.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Oh yeah, it is probably one of the
Day
greatest.
After was one of those movies though they used to make us watch in school and shit though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no. If you want to see a true nuclear war deterrent film, watch Threads. It is a horror. You can find it free on like Internet Archive. It's hour and a half or 2 hours or something. It's absolutely horrifying because it's just so real and documentarian. It's great.
Yeah. And then we got Sergeant Point Blank sending in 2 and says Star Trek hasn't been the same since Jerry Goldsmith died. While music lost a huge piece of itself in cinema when Jerry Goldsmith left us. Let me tell you what. There's only one man who probably comes even close to John Williams.
John Williams.
And that's
Yeah.
Jerry Goldsmith.
Jerry. The great
Yeah.
Smith.
And I would almost argue he might have more memorable themes in a way, but like just for what John Williams has done for Steven Spielberg alone is so iconic. That's the problem, is that everybody just, but Jerry, had done stuff for even years before, Williams was even active, right? Throughout the 60s and shit. Didn't even do stuff in the 50s, probably. Trying to remember now.
I think he did, yes. Well,
Yeah.
pretty sure in the 60s for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say with all the Planet of the Apes films and all that stuff and all the sci-fi stuff he did, hell yeah. I mean, and he was the guy that most people wanted, and if they couldn't get Jerry, they went to Williams, and then it became the other way around. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, he will be missed. Jeremy Hembry sends in a member chat for 14 months. It says Godzilla X Kong tomorrow will be the highest grossing Godzilla legendary film. Celebrate as it beats Kong Skull Island. Oh yeah, I thought Godzilla versus Kong outgrossed Skull Island, but I guess I was wrong.
Wow.
Just from memory, I thought it did. Yeah, no, it's doing well still, considering it's on streaming. But one thing Kinberg we were talking about before was Star Trek, right? Before that, he worked on X-Men, as you recall.
Mhm.
Well, we've got some X-Men news.
Oh boy.
Well, here we go.
So, this just came across a little bit ago. X-Men movie at Marvel Studios gains momentum as Michael Leslie comes on as a screenwriter. So who the fuck is Michael Leslie?
I was going to ask
Probably
the same thing.
Following the success of its animated series X-Men 97. That's funny. They just said it wasn't very successful, but okay.
I guess
studios-
he probably worked on Rick and Morty or something.
Yeah.
No.
it's now
Hunger
ramping-
Games. Sorry, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
This is the guy that wrote
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed.
I was just getting to that. Is now ramping things up with the live action X-Men with the Hunger Games Ballad of Songs. So we got wasn't even the original Hunger Games. It's the newer one.
And it was crap. That movie was boring. I don't want to say a bad word, but boring AF.
Yeah, he's in
Yes,
negotiations still to pen the
That's
movie.
true, Nick.
The film is still in early development with no talent or director attached and no release date set. Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige will produce. Deadline reported last fall this project become one of the first major writing assignments to open up once the writer's strike had been resolved. Feige and his execs made it clear there was no rush and there fucking should be.
Yeah.
It seems like it's DOA.
Like, when do you think would be a good time to start worrying about this shit, Kevin? Like, you bought X-Men 2017. Let's see this. Said 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Like 6, 7, 8 years ago? Almost
Yeah.
a decade ago.
Fantastic Four.
This reminds me
Fucking
of
hell.
when they announced the merger was happening, and for those wondering, my position as far as the X-Men are concerned, I like them. They're fine. They're cool. I'm not like deeply well versed, but no, I respect them. I know they have a very at one point in time large fan base, whether it was via comics, the '90s cartoon. They have their fans. Very, very dedicated bunch. I really respect that. And even I just look at that as, I guess you could say, I can be closer to an objectivist because of that. I look at the Phase 4 announcement when they announced the Phase 4 announcement. not one thing at that point was announced that was related to the X-Men or the Fantastic Four. They announced all these other things, Soy Chi, the Eternals, as Klobby likes to call it, all these other things. And I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? You have some of the biggest franchises known to Marvel ever, and you're sidelining them just so you can get these other things out. And I'd say, and here's an interesting part, I'd say this as someone who's read some of the original Shang-Chi, the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu type of stuff. I like that stuff, but you should have gotten X-Men out first. This is like when DC skips a lot of these great properties like Teen Titans, skips Nightwing, just so they could get to Naomi. It makes no sense why they're doing this.
They didn't know what to do with the characters. That's the problem.
And they still don't know. They didn't know what to do with the characters in Phase 4. They didn't know how to use Soy Chi. He should have actually been the greatest fighter alive. He's basically just Bruce Lee, just brought into Marvel. And not one time do you watch him in that do you feel like he's the best fighter. Guy lost to his sister. Come on.
Well, no, they didn't know how to integrate. They didn't know how to integrate the Fox legacy of those characters in that franchise into the established MCU. That was the problem. And then you had the whole nonsense of trying to change them from X-Men to X-People or the mutants or whatever. It's just, they were so scared. They were so scared to do anything with them
for a while. I remember because Feige said after they announced their initial Phase 4 announcement, they said, "Don't worry, mutants are coming." I'm like, you could say the X-Men, Kevin. Come on. Do I need to poke the stick? Come on. Just say it. Just say X-Men. Don't be afraid to say the name. I'm surprised they called
X-Men 97.
Who cares what Victoria Alonso
97.
thinks?
Yeah.
Who cares if she gets mad? It's the X-Men.
Well, the thing that's more confusing is the fact that they're not going to take advantage of the momentum that Deadpool and Wolverine are going to create, and they're only now just getting a writer put on board. They're not, this thing should already be in pre-production. It should,
we should have had. They should have had a movie out by now. Once again, we can all debate. It probably would have not been good since the direction we've seen. But let's just try to be logical here. They should have had at least a movie out by now. Maybe you could have had Mr. Sinister as the villain, or you could have gone up to 97, had the Bastion, whatever. You should have had a movie out with the team out. Full glory. They should have had a F4 movie out. No, perfect world speaking. But once again, they just thought, we'll be fine with this because they're riding on such a high and goodwill of everything else that did Phase 1, 2, and 3 that they thought, okay, now we could put out literally anything and it'll succeed. And to be fair, maybe if Soy Chi actually had some testosterone to it, maybe it would have done better, but it drank the goat milk, and now it's never to be seen or heard from again. And he keeps saying, "Don't worry, guys, that sequel is coming." Really? I remember Pepperidge Farm said back in 01 when that thing was coming. We're in 04. Simu, whatever your name is pronounced. How much longer is this gonna be like all those R movies that they say, "Don't worry, guys, it's coming," but we're not gonna admit that it's not. Oh man,
I thought the Shang-Chi was the new face of the MCU.
Just rehire Bo DeMille. Say, okay, we mess up because, by the way, he's back on some of his socials. In case some of you didn't know, he's back on some of his socials. Say, okay, finish up the rest of your work on second season. Let's promote you to a movie. If they really want to actually get serious about it now, put him on. He actually likes the characters. He actually does. Put him on. He would actually give you a detailed show on the characters. He would actually respect Cyclops, which is that's my favorite X-Men. I think Klobby's favorite too. Mm-hmm. So you would actually have someone who's on who can spotlight the women of the X-Men while still giving respect to Scott Summers, which is something that a lot of current year writers have a hard time doing. It can be done. It's been done. We had it done recently of all the things in current year. Trust me, if you had told me we're going to be in a timeline where we would have respectful take on Scott Summers, I could have swore to you that I was gonna give up pizza for the rest of my life before that to happen. But boy, was I wrong. And there you go. For all those wondering, is every single thing bad at current year of Disney Plus? No. X-Men 97 was good. Anyways, I'll shut up now.
And they fired the showrunner
before it even
making
came out.
Good.
Yeah, before it came out, and he's still playing it up though. I think I wonder if they're like regretting their decision or something, because didn't something just come out the other day where they said the second season will still carry forward Bo's vision or whatever?
Yeah,
he far
They
along
were
for
talking
that.
about
that
rewriting the
he-
scripts when they fired him. So
he said
Yeah,
that
that's a change.
he said season 3 will have nothing to do with him. He said that like as far as like the writing and the ideas were his for season 2, but he says but other than like the production, well, that's where it stops for him in season 3. He said after that, season 3 is nothing. I saw it. I watched
saw
The
it.
Goddess.
I watched
Bobby
it.
and I both watched it.
I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great time. I'll admit it. I had a great time.
Well, all of
especially
a
with
sudden, in
the
this
finale.
last article, they're saying it was a ratings hit, even though I was just reading the other day that it had poorer ratings than Echo and shit like that. So yeah, I don't know which is which.
I don't know if there's going to be a second season. Probably not.
Oh, they're already working on the second season.
Oh well.
Yeah, they already
There you
wrote
go.
it. They already got it produced.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Is
Well-
Bo will still have a stamp on the second season. He just won't be
Ah.
their showrunner.
Yeah,
Well,
mushroom
maybe
stamp.
maybe there won't be a third then.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see how that rolls. Yeah, but yeah, that was, I thought, an interesting bit of news that came across the transom, whatever you want to
Yep.
call it.
Yep.
And then we got this other business here with Seth Rogen.
Oh God.
He says, I just thought we could poke fun at him a little bit.
Yeah, the world's most
Says-
charismatic man.
Movies will never go away because, according to him, people still go to the museum. Really stoned.
Wow, he's funny.
Profound.
So anyway, he's out talking about his crap like Invincible and Sausage Party Foodtopia, like we needed a sequel to Sausage Party, kids.
Yay. Yay.
But yeah.
Wow.
Last year, lots of movies did very well. I think if movies were going away, they would have a long time ago. Well, you can still sell a lot of things, like shrimp. You can still sell a lot of shrimp and go out of business, right, guys? You guys been following the whole Red Lobster news?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Poor Red
Especially when
Where
there's
I'm gonna get
corporate
my lobster
shenanigans
now?
involved. Sorry, what'd you say, CC?
Said, where am I going to get my lobster now?
I know, right? Well, not all of them, but only like I think 100 and some locations had closed. But one of my closer ones did, and I was upset about it. But that being said, I mean, just because you have a few hits doesn't necessarily mean you're making money across the board, Seth. Especially with all the money that's being spent on streaming. But that being said, go ahead.
I was going to say this episode is so far nearly every figure we've talked about has been a how is this person still getting work question.
Well, in that category as well, and I thought that would be fun to bounce off the Seth Rogen story with Kevin Costner, who is actually right about this. Netflix will never kill the DVD. And I think we've hit a point where I think people are starting to realize the importance of physical media.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yes, Kevin is another one of those that, bless him, he just, yeah, he's not quite living on the same planet as us, but yes.
No,
he's not wrong here, and physical media is on the uptick. So I thought this would be kind of a nice little discussion for us to have. Do you guys really think that movies are dying, and do you think physical media is being killed by streaming, or do you think movies are being killed by streaming? What do you guys think? Let's get your thoughts on all this.
I don't think that it's actually been killed, and I don't think it ever will. But I think it's definitely taken a few licks. That's for sure. It's definitely taken a black eye and a fat lip. But as far as being absolutely outright knocked out, I definitely disagree. I mean, there's still a market for it. That's another thing. There's still clearly a market for it, and I know what's Oppenheimer did really well on physical media, which, hey, obviously the Nolan fans really, they went out and supported that, which is good. That's how it should be. And if people more and more realizing the importance of it, then yeah, I think if God should tell you something when Netflix and D Plus are still putting their shows on physical media, that should tell you, hey, they want to make money off of it as well. Because if they really were so certain about streaming, they would have never put those things out on physical media, whether it was Stranger Things or D Plus. I know for some reason put WandaVision on Blu-ray. It's clear that they still want to make money from that format, no matter how much Best Buy and Target want to transition out of it. There's still going to be a Walmart and an Amazon that will carry it, and that's good. I think that's great, and it gives people an opportunity to own it. So, especially once again with streaming, we should all very well know here, especially if you're in this chat. This is a very, very niche section of YouTube. You should know very well by now, very well, that digital is not the end all, especially when you see how things you don't like can be edited, had a disclaimer run in, and even outright removed, even if you bought it. Whew.
Streaming is showing and proving that physical media needs to still exist, because obviously the offerings can go at any time, and current offerings of product are just showing how good the old stuff is, and the old stuff isn't always available on streaming, or the rights are all over different places. The only place you can get them are physical media. So the old TV shows, the old movies, the niche stuff. Are movies dead? No, but Hollywood certainly isn't making much of an argument for them. I know that Barbenheimer was I think, overblown yet successful campaign to get people back into theaters, and that's good. But the thing is, now they have to maintain that, and they have to maintain it legitimately with quality product, and that's going to be an uphill battle for the current regimes in Hollywood and otherwise. So it's theirs to lose, as it is. The theaters are theirs to lose with the momentum that they build up. So I guess we'll have to see this summer and next how they handle it. But yeah, no, physical media. Yeah, the argument for physical media gets made more clear day by day, and every time that you have one of these companies that say, "Oh, you don't own your own game anymore," was that Ubisoft or whatever? Like, they get used to the fact of not owning your own games. Streaming things being taken off the air and deleted, or you can't access them anymore, or they're only there for a limited time or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, with more conglomerations.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys saw this or not the other day, because there was that one that announced their streaming package. What was it? Paramount Plus Disney, and was it Paramount Plus? Disney, Paramount Plus, and somebody else. I can't remember who. But then I just saw the other day, Peacock, Apple, and HBO Max are doing some similar thing where they're working together. But either way, like, yeah. And yes, DVDs can see revisions too. And this is another reason why and why I think shows like 4K for you are so important, and where we discuss a lot of this stuff and break it down, is because, yes, sometimes these revisions are not like to edit something out, but they're just screw ups on their part too. So we got to be able to preserve the past somehow, and that's the more important thing for me as well. Going forward. But anyway,
you're going to have people who want to go out of their way to buy physical media, right? But for the vast majority of the rest of the population, the way I always look at it is effort. And people want to not put in any effort whatsoever. And we used to, like, everybody used to have a DVD drive, maybe a little less on the Blu-ray side, but especially with DVDs. DVD drives were in everything. And now they're not so much. I mean, maybe modern consoles can, but even consoles are kind of not in great shape right now. You can't, you go to the store, you buy a new laptop, it's not going to have a disk drive in it. Like, what part of our regular, household items, if you haven't gone out of your way to buy a disk drive, how do you have a disk drive right now? Unless you're a console, a video game console owner, and that console can play the disc. Like, if you just naturally put disk drives back into people's homes en masse, then they'll have a reason to buy discs. Otherwise,
I have an external one here, but I can't get it to play 4K for some reason. But yeah,
but you're Tom Connors, right? Like,
I'm not technical enough to figure it out. Like, that's the problem. I can play Blu-rays and DVDs on it, but it won't play 4K for me. But anyway,
like how do you put a disc drive in the vast majority of people's homes without asking them to go and physically buy a disc drive, right? It used to just be a part of something that other people bought, right? Every time somebody bought a computer, they had a disk drive, whether they wanted it or not. They had one, right? And I think just having that takes away so much of that additional effort. Where if they can do that kind of binge buy, it's like, oh hey, I have a disk drive and this is a disk. I think I'll buy the thing. You know, I think that would go a long way, personally.
Yeah, I tend to agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, and I don't think that physical media is going to go too far too fast. I mean, it's going to get a bit more niche as time goes on, and it will eventually phase out. But if anything, these streaming services, I think, in the process of trying to kill physical media, just prolonged its life. So we'll have to see how this rolls. But at least that's my take to it. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say about it. Yeah.
I think we all had our piece
I think
with
y'all
it.
had your piece with that. So let's get to the super chat here from Magna Defender 98, who says with $5 to the panel, have you seen Mr. Bircham? It's Daily Wire's adult sitcom. The show is an unfunny mess. I support Daily Wire's podcast. My God, their art is dog shit. I have not, Magna, because I actually canceled Daily Wire this last year. And I honestly have not seen anything come out of there as far as their entertainment offerings that looks remotely interesting. In fact, a lot of people who watched that Lady Ballers regretted it.
Right.
I don't know if I can't remember if anybody on the panel did.
I felt like regret.
I was like, so
trying to
CC and
finish it.
Nick did. Okay.
Yeah, they're trying too hard to go out of their way to be anti-woke rather than just writing something good.
It's the right-wing version of the message.
That's what I was afraid of.
The funny part is, I don't disagree with anything that they are saying message-wise, but how overt it was. That's my issue. Like, and that's someone who agrees with a lot of those stances, if not almost all of them. It was too much for me. Way too much.
Well, and I think I said at the time I had not seen the film. So that being said, I do have to put that up front. I've not watched the movie. I'm just going off of a lot of what you guys said and what I saw in the trailer. Between that and the Snow White thing I saw, what I said then, I think I'm going to still stand by, and that is these things probably would have worked better as skits and not as actual movies. I think they should just that would have been
cool.
That's what I mean. Like something like that is a little different. It's a little like I do songs and skit all the time that are kind of a little bit more leaning into that stuff. To me, I don't see that as a problem. But if I'm going to write a movie or a story, the last thing I want to do is like alienate half of my audience or half of a possible audience, right? But I'm also not going to pander to one or the other either. So yeah.
The other thing they're doing is they are locking it behind their own service.
Paywall. Yeah,
unless you happen to already be a Daily Wire Plus subscriber, nobody has any access to it, right? And it's just
so in that case, they're playing to their audience, right?
Such a small potential audience to begin with. I mean, you got to put it out there to everybody somehow.
With something like that should have been the opportunity to have been politically neutral from it. That should have been what they're going. They could have made the same type of story. Which they could have. It's not like it can't be done. They could have done
what they said they were going to do.
And they didn't. They absolutely did not at all.
See, and Klobby, that's my issue here is if they're going to do it as a skit, fine. Same thing with the Snow White thing. But this is what I said when people were trying to jump down my throat a little bit about Lady Ballers and Snow White when we first saw the trailers. And I said, no, like to me, this looks like they're going too far in the other direction.
Yep.
Right?
Well,
what they're doing is exactly like you just said, Nick. Yeah, go ahead, Klobby.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just said they said they wanted it, Hollywood just to make entertainment. We're going to do that. We're not going to make anything with an agenda or with with a message. And then they made, I haven't seen it, but you guys say they had a message.
They can't help themselves. Yeah. They try to differentiate. Yeah. They try to differentiate themselves from the competition. They try to pander to their audience when they should be saying, okay, let's make something that has a neutral overall message of morality rather than have it being politically partisan or current events commentating. Just make a good old fashioned movie, just a Western with a good guy and a bad guy and no big things in there, no references, and just go with it.
Like what Sound of Freedom did basically, right? For Angel Studios, right? The movie itself wasn't so hung up on the religious factor.
Yeah.
Sure. A certain group of people tended to believe in the film more than others, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But
Right.
at the same time, what it was a movie that was pretty much mostly neutral, even though the producers of it had, certain leanings, and the company that bought it had certain leanings. They didn't go back in and reshoot it and try to, Angel
Right.
Studio it up or anything like that.
Because they
To
probably
me,
had
it's the
somebody
same thing
holding
with
them
Snow
back.
White. Yeah, like if you want to do it right, show them how to do it. Not necessarily make a Snow White, make your own new thing. And make it neutral so that you can show them how it's done, how it used to be done,
Yeah.
something that could be popular.
Yeah.
But instead, you guys are right. They're closing off their audience. And I said, yeah, like if they had done something more like a Funny or Die skit, that's a different story. But if you're gonna do like a kids movie, then do a fucking kids movie and do it right and show them how to do it without dragging in the politics on either side.
Well,
Right?
what
Like 'cause that's what most of our people's gripes are anyway.
What they should do is make a brand for Daily Wire that doesn't even say Daily Wire, like a Touchstone Pictures for Disney or something, where you
Right.
can have a bit of a separation, not only in branding but also in philosophy. And you have to have somebody there because Daily Wire is so politically partisan. You have to have somebody in those productions who's like the memento mori, who's saying, "Wait a second, I need a check here. I need somebody to go through this and sort of make sure we're not leaning, like you said, too far to one direction or the other, and just make it
Yeah.
a good, entertaining film or TV show or whatever. And we're not just being a mirror image of that which we would otherwise criticize."
But I'm also not going to jump too far down their throats because, like you guys have been saying here, they're the Daily Wire. They're pandering to their audience.
Yeah.
These things aren't
Yeah.
budgeted in a way, like I guess that they're gonna like lose the bank or something like that for a bunch of the investors for the company if they don't make a bunch of money because they're not going to theaters. They're being made for their specific little group, and that's fine. I would think, from my perspective, you would want to expand. You
Right.
just said, Scribbles. I agree with you 100%. They should have done a spun-off company where it's like, yes, it's got Daily Wire people involved and Daily Wire money involved. But that's another thing. That's another one of their problems is they got the Daily Wire people starring in these movies and not actual actors.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think Nick, you pointed some of that stuff, or at least some of the guys did with the Lady Baller movie, for instance. Too.
Oh man, that movie, that was one of the toughest things I ever had to face in a long time. Seriously, it was.
Well, you guys said they
horrendous.
like hammering them in there and stuff. Like they did have some real
dude.
actors, you said, but like they had
They
all their
did.
Daily
And
Wire people.
the sad part is, if you look at the trailer looked like it showed promise, and then you watch it, realize, oh, the best parts were in the trailer, and yeah, and it's like, okay, if DW actually wants to, become the culture, doing this is not going to get them in that direction. Now, if they're saying, hey, we have our rights, we're good with this, we're going to keep it that way, okay, whatever. At least at that point, it would make sense with what you are saying. But they're saying that they want to be neutral. This is not neutral at all.
Yeah.
And that's, once again, comes
So
from
did
someone
anybody
who
watch
agrees
this
with a lot of
series at
those
all?
ideas.
Did anybody watch this series at all? To
I didn't watch the
I haven't
series.
watched Mr. Bird.
I saw the movie that they distributed. Run something. I can't. What's that? With the school shooting?
Oh, the
That
one they
was
bought.
okay. Huh?
See, yeah, that was one they just distributed, like you said. They didn't actually make
that was
that
okay.
one. See, and that's what they should have done is
I
more
didn't-
neutral things like that. Pick up
I
movies.
didn't mind the
that's-
Gina flick either. It wasn't like this amazing thing, but it was fine for what it was. I had fun watching it. Terror on the Prairie. They were fine. I'd say they're like 7 out of 10 watches. I had fun with those. And I can watch those and say, yeah, okay, these are just, their own stories. They don't feel like they had any slant to any of those completely. But yeah, Lady Balls is just an embarrassment. Absolute atrocity. I will strip. It's almost like a Zack Snyder level of an atrocity.
Wow.
Well, I kind of get. I kind of agree with where you're coming from, Tom, on the skit thing, because like if we made a skit, then that's what it is, right? But if we decided to try and make a serious feature-length film and we all star in it, then
awesome.
It would be great. Yeah,
exactly. Awesome.
Be the best
Maybe if we had
ever.
cameos, but like, no, I mean,
no,
honestly,
we have to be the main cast.
I don't know. Unless it's so low budget and so like inside baseball, that'd be one thing. But like, if you wanted me to be serious, like if somebody were to actually go, okay, we're gonna fund a movie, like crowdfund a movie for like $250,000 to $500,000 or something like that. Let's be a little bit generous, but within reason, right? So, like, yeah, script doctor would probably help us out, like Goddess of Whim just pointed out in the chat, help write it, whatever. We'd all get involved in it some way, shape, or form. I'm sure we'd all have ways we could use our skills, but not very many of us are actual actors. Right? Like, I know that. Now, some of us could act, and we could probably play cameos, do some voices.
I think I would
little funny wink,
surprise you,
wink.
Tom, if you gave me
Oh,
an
I'm sure.
opportunity.
I'm sure you probably could. And, just like I do voices and stuff too. And I'm actually trained as an actor and so on and so forth. But that being said,
well, I've done customer service.
Yeah, we all have.
The other thing with Lady Ballers is it was inside baseball. Like, if we started putting in this, if we made this movie and we wrote the script, and in the script was like references to previous Midnight's Edge shows.
Right.
Like, okay.
Yeah, but I wouldn't spend that kind of money on that. That's my point. My point I was getting to is, like, if I legitimately wanted to say something to where I'm going to say here, and we're going to show, not just me, but I mean all of us, together are going to show, the industry how it should be done, or something that is actually good. This is the same reason why I tell people if they want to do a fan film not to. I say just take your idea and make it something original, because at that point you have a better chance of getting something noticed and noticed by Hollywood for better or worse as well. Right. And I would want to get actual people who know what they're doing. I'd want to get actors. I'd want to get actual cinematographers. I'd want to get, actual lighting people involved, actual effects people involved. And if people within our community can do those things, that's even better, because then we know we can work with them, and it's a great deal for everybody involved. But otherwise, I'm going to want to go to professionals, because you guys deserve that. If I'm making something with that, and I'm going to make it completely as non-biased as I can, so that it can reach as broad of an audience as it can. See, that's what they don't understand. They want to reach a broad audience. They think they're doing that by injecting it full of this shit, right? No, and again, they're starting to figure out the poison that it is. We'll insert whatever Kool-Aid joke you want to there. But point being is, at this point, I think that to show them what makes most people like films is when things are so universal or neutral, and where they don't have to worry about the shit that we've talked about the last 5, 6, 7 years now, right? When parents don't have to worry about taking their kids to a Disney movie and worrying about, having to explain to them why those two guys are fucking.
The Daily Wires guys are more like vanity project people.
And that's fine. And I'm not trying to knock on them too much. And that's where I'm kind of coming back around to saying, look, they're doing that. That's fine. Now, if they were to turn around and spend, $1 million, couple $1 million on a feature, I would hope they'd be smart enough to either do something neutral or just go buy something like Sound of Freedom, like they did with the movie that Nick just brought up earlier, because that's a smarter move. Like, I could see them buying something like Sound of Freedom, but then they also have to have the money behind them to get it out there, like Angel did. Right. So, like, that's the thing. And look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people out there that I've said this before. You can make just about anything you want now is at your fingertips. Your talent is the only thing that's stopping you. Right. It used to cost you dozens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to get all the equipment and stuff to make a movie. And then, however much more to actually get actors and all this other business. Now you can do a lot of stuff on your own for next to nothing, because your phone, you got a whole movie studio inside your phone.
Yeah. It still requires talent. But
that's the key. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, talent. Yeah, imagination and talent. So here's the thing. Okay, the movie's going to be called Midnight's Edge. See? Okay, Midnight's Edge. It's going to be noir. I don't know what else about it yet, but that's all it is. I just know the title's great for a noir film, Midnight's Edge.
I can see Andre in it now.
I know, right? He's the narrator. He's the narrator.
She had to walk into mine. It was at that moment I knew I was finished.
Oh, Andre.
I watched her hips swing goodbye.
Her dress matched the lipstick that she had on, as well as her fire red hair. I knew she was trouble. The red flags were everywhere.
Andre should do an audiobook.
Oh yeah, he'd probably be good at that.
Oh,
He'll tell he he's so concerned now because he talks so slow. Like, we speed. I've told this before, so he said it too, so you don't think he cares. We speed up his voice and stuff for the videos.
Oh,
otherwise,
did you really? I've not.
Oh yeah, we always do. Yeah, listen to the videos, because we pitch it too correctly. Listen to the videos and then listen to him talk when he's in person. It's there. He talks much quicker and more concise in the videos because we speed it up just a little bit more, so it sounds more natural to anybody else listening. But
It actually does
if you
sound natural. That's the
listen
fun
to
part. It
him
doesn't
on
sound
the
rushed.
show, he talks very slow
Uh,
and very precise.
you ruined the magic trick. You gave it away. Now I know how the
Wow,
woman is
why
sawed in half.
What? Everything in my life
I
is
have
a
been listening to
lie.
Andre's voice for 7 years.
Yeah, okay.
He's a
I
great
know all the
narrator.
nuance, and I tell him every time, like, I love leaving. Like, it used to be where I'd correct him on certain things, but sometimes I just let shit slide now just to give you guys some memes. Because, like, the recent one was the Marvel Committee. He would say it like comedy. It's like, well, how would you say it? It's like, it's committee, not comedy. Like, the way you're saying it, it sounds like you're saying comedy. It's like, well, obviously that's not what I'm saying. Well, that's not what it sounds like. So sometimes he'll get those pronunciations. And the thing is he knows English better than me anyway, right? So 9 times out of 10, he's probably everything he's saying is correct, except for just the way his accent sometimes has fun with words. It's interesting. Sometimes it's
But his accent is part of the charm. That's
exactly
great.
Or commit me. Yes, the other the Marvel Creative Commit Me.
I love how serious he sounds. No matter what he talks about, it sounds like the most serious thing ever.
Yeah, you could probably make it sound like he's grilling a cheese and it's the most important thing in the world.
Right.
First, you must heat up. This is the most important part. Heat up the pan to medium heat before putting your bread in the pan. And you lightly
and there's the dramatic music.
Yeah.
It starts with more like neutral music, but then the part that he's like talking about some kind of conspiracy or whatever, then there's like do like that thing in the background, and he starts like talking all serious. It's like
you know what
most
sucks about that old
ever.
music we used to have is like half of it would get copyright claims, so we had to quit using it.
Play the Torgo music.
Oh,
that's probably not copyrighted.
Wait, so you don't
Romano Sands of Fate.
You don't do the dramatic bell music anymore?
No. Well, we have one that we use. Well, we do have one that you're probably talking about now that we've used in more recent years because it's a
that one I know well,
title. Yeah. That one we do, but we had one from back in the day that people loved, that people griped for years we had to get rid of because the first portion of it was fine, but then it goes into this other tune, and the other tune was copyright claimed, and Andre had gotten from same place, so you couldn't understand why they were, but whatever. But
I had that
funny
thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say the dump, this thing, beginning of the morning show, the drums. That's actually from a Kevin MacLeod thing too. But yeah. Anyway, you were gonna say something, Scribe.
My intro music for my videos I got from a copyright-free, royalty-free thing on YouTube, and it was fine for years. And all of a sudden, I started having videos claimed on it, and I was like, "What?" And I had no idea what I was going to do because like every video I'd made for the previous like 4 years or something had that music at the front. So I shot in the dark. I tweeted the artist that made the song, and I said, "Hey, I got this song. It was copyright free at the time and everything. I don't know if there's anything to do." And I swear to God, 10 minutes later, the guy tweets me back and says, and DMs me and says, here's the contact info for my agent. Contact him and he'll whitelist your channel for the whole thing. Like, damn. And that guy, cool. It was just, I was so lucky because that guy, Joey Pecoraro, just going to say, I will never, and I've always credited him on my videos for years and years now. But yeah, that guy is an absolute saint, and so is his agent.
Well, and Kevin MacLeod's the same way. He's never claimed anybody.
Good.
So, which is cool because I actually found out he's from Wisconsin, and not only that, he has worked professionally in films, so in television.
Wow.
But most people you've heard his music all over the place. But yeah, that's pretty much all the big stories I had for today, unless there was any new news in the gaming department, CC, that you had for us. But let
it out.
I usually just what I led with. The gaming is in both the best place and the worst place right now. Because we're getting some amazing games, but there's also DEI in the message.
Right.
DEI. Anime, right? It's like you can have a script when it's not in English. It can be any language. In this case, anime is in Japanese. And then you get the English translators. And if the English translators are Sweet Baby Ink, then what we get in English is not what was originally presented. Right.
Well,
So it's just two fronts. You have DEI itself in the design of the product, and you
Mhm.
also have it in the translation of the product.
Yeah.
well, a lot of the things
tough.
a lot of things coming out now were started production and everything in the, I think, the flagging days of the DEI philosophy, because it's hitting a lot more the corporate area, education, everything else, hitting a lot more walls recently after the Supreme Court decision last year on affirmative action. And so I think you're going to start seeing it tapering off, not only because you're seeing the failure financially of so many projects that have boosted this stuff and the reaction to it, but because many corporations now are actively working to get rid of the word diversity from a lot of their stuff. They're trying to hide the ball, so to speak, and changing some of their language to things like impact and inclusivity and so on, rather than DEI specifically. But it's slowly dying, but it's going to be a long road ahead. So I think gaming hopefully will catch up in the near future, but it all depends on how quickly this stuff is purged, because the legal liability, every company that's got a DEI program, every day that they had it implemented, they're violating somebody's civil rights. And you multiply that up over the course of the last several years, they are just hoping that the statute of limitations passes before the class action lawsuits come in, because it's just waiting to happen. It's just hard to get there.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, there is one thing I guess we can follow up with one more update. It does turn out that Married with Children trailer that I got leaked to me was probably real, or it is real, because Sony came after me.
Whoa,
They took it down. It has
Sony
to
came
be,
after me. Yeah.
Oh,
They waited
now,
till Monday
is it for
morning,
the intro
evidently.
or for the video as a whole?
Oh, the whole thing. They came after me.
You get a copyright strike?
Oh.
I did not get a strike, thankfully.
Okay, good.
They did claim it, and they took it down. They gave me a DMCA claim or whatever on X as well. So that answers that question, guys.
I didn't see it actually.
So thank you for the
Sometimes
person who sent that to me. So
you got to find out the hard way, and you did, literally.
Well, let's just say, yeah. So you can't see it anymore where I posted it before, but I have posted it someplace else. I'm not going to say exactly where, but I'm sure you guys can kind of figure out where it's probably at. You've heard rumblings about it, I'm sure.
Yes,
I'm thinking about
through the grapevine.
That myself.
Yeah, so it's out there. I've made sure it's available still. So yeah, but that being said, I am actually fighting them on the claim on Twitter.
Nice.
See how far it goes. If I don't win it, I don't win it. But like I said, it's just news. I'm just doing my job.
Imagine.
What did the trailer look like? What happens in it?
Oh, you didn't see it yet?
No, that's the thing.
Oh, we watched it the other day. Did you? Oh, that's right. You weren't here the other day.
Right.
It's not bad. It's a little bit tame. There's
I shared it on Twitter.
Like the original show, but
let's say.
No, don't get another strike. It's okay.
Well, what I did was,
Brian's like,
you'll see what I mean here. I'll give you.
Right.
I'll get you a link to a link here. How's that sound? There you go.
He's gonna link you. Everyone wants.
So yeah, we watched it on the show the other day, but I had to delete that out of the episode because it was blocked worldwide. That was the other thing they did to me. So they went up to and everything but a strike. So I can't bitch. I'm not bitching. I'm not pissed at Sony. I think it's hilarious, actually. Because I am the person who actually put that out there, I guess. Because I was even getting credit for it on X when other people were stealing my video. Which it isn't technically my video, so I can't say that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so. Wow, good for me for having a scoop and figuring it out. Yay.
You had a scoop.
Give myself a pat on the back.
Oh, yes, I'll give you a pat.
Which kind of goes back because I was one of the first people to talk about it too, if I remember right.
Are there any original voices in it, or is it like?
Yeah, they're all in it. Well, that's part of the reason why they're doing it animated, because of Christina Applegate's health issues.
And they're all old.
Yeah, and they're all old.
Oh yeah,
which
a lot
I
older.
actually pitched when we first heard about this. That's where I came up with my Married with Grandchildren idea that 70s show kind of stole.
Mm-hmm.
It's what it should be.
And that's what I'd said, because you had it set. You could have it set up to where, Peg and Al are having to take care or help take care of Kelly's kids for while she's on tour for like some modeling thing or something. And of course, you have one of them that's smart as hell because, of course, it would be because it's Kelly's kid who's dumb as a box of rocks. So, of course, she'd have one of the smartest kids ever born. And then the other one would either just be a troublemaker or whatever, just, come up with something fun. I left that one kind of open. But the other part I come up with was Bud, of course, is still living in the basement, but he has a daughter now who's just like Kelly. So, like, he has to, of course, protect her from men like him.
Yeah.
So, of course, he's got, he's constantly being, a shotgun dad, basically.
I just have to point out that 70s show is a very overrated show.
I was disappointed. Like, I was looking forward to the revival because I was like, okay, maybe they're listening because they kind of stole the idea.
I forgot
Even the original
existed.
wasn't good. That one is
Well,
is a
and
show
that's kind of
that
maybe why, because I was never a huge fan of the original too. You're right, Price, but what I saw of it was okay. But
sometimes there's a show that becomes popular, but it really doesn't deserve that popularity. And that 70s show is, if you do like a top
it was
10
Big
list,
Bang before Big Bang, kind of.
you know what? Big Bang was still better than that one. And not that I love every aspect of Big Bang, but somehow that 70s show for me is kind of a bottom of the barrel situation.
Honestly, I think I'd go the other direction. I think I'd say that 70s show was a better show than Big Bang. The first couple seasons of Big Bang were well conceived, but there's a moment where the show becomes Friends 2.0.
Yeah, Friends with nerds. Yeah,
Friends with nerds, and at that point the show goes completely off the rails. And
I agree with you. The first few seasons, when it's just Penny and the guys, I think that's where the show really excelled. Once they said, okay, have additional women here that are also nerds, and like you said, friends for nerds. That's when the show never quite recovered.
Yeah,
it became mainstream enough that like everybody watched it and they got all the money they wanted, but it wasn't. Only the first few seasons were good. I agree.
70s show, the problem with that show, I would say, would be that it just was too long in the tooth.
Yeah,
because the whole concept was only supposed to be like 4 or 5 years, and the show started in like 77 or 76. And it's like, okay, you should have started the show way earlier in the 70s. And a lot of that the show knew what it was from the start, and it didn't really deviate too far from that by the end.
No,
see,
but
that's
even
where I
they
would.
did the final season without
nothing to watch there.
So.
Well, that was just because they decided to carry the show on a lot longer than they should
Laura
have.
Exactly.
Topher Grace. I don't know. Like, who has time for those people?
And I'm not a big fan of like Ashton Kutcher and stuff. I'm just saying, as far as a show goes, it was constructed better. It had more. It felt more like an actual sitcom, even though it was kind of a throwback to Happy Days. It found its own voice to where I would say comparatively, the 70s show still had a little more originality and voice to it than when Big Bang first started. It did, but then it became Friends with nerds.
I agree
like
with you.
said.
It did change over time.
Yeah, so considering the breadth of what 70s show kind of did with what it had and what it worked with, it never really deviated too far from that. It knew what it was, even though it lost its main star and stuff like that for a while.
I would watch Happy Days over that 70s show any day of the week, even the season.
Oh, me too.
When Richie ran away and Fonzie was literally jumping over sharks, I would still watch that over that.
Oh, totally.
70s
totally. Show. We're not even in disagreement there. So, yeah.
I'll take Third Rock from the Sun. I see it in the
There
chat.
you go.
That's another good last one of those shows
go.
I'd probably put up there as one of those good last sitcoms. Like, because the sitcom kind of died with 2.5 Men and that's and I almost said that 70s show. The Big Bang Theory, if you ask me. Because Big Bang Theory just became Friends 2.0, and let's be real, all 2.5 Men was fucking The Odd Couple. Like, it wasn't really anything original. It was literally just that last. How many times can we squeeze this?
It was only good
concept.
really when Charlie Sheen was on. The second he left, it was just they were just running on fumes.
Sitcoms, because then otherwise all you have is The Office and Parks and Rec and stuff, and those are not technically sitcoms. Those are actually more first-person comedies or whatever you call them, or one-camera comedies or whatever they're called.
Eastbound and Down was good, but I don't know if that's a sitcom.
I don't know if I consider that a sitcom either. It's a comedy show. But see, HBO did those kind of shows. That was kind of their different.
They had Entourage. They had that. Today they don't make anything. They hide those shows so that you don't even see them on the platform.
Man.
Yeah, television has died. Paul, I wish he was here to talk about this because he'd probably agree with us. The sitcom needs a revival.
Oh man, that would be great because we had a murderer's row of great shows throughout the years. Even the less good shows still had some good moments in them.
Like
That's
Murders
how
in
it
the
should.
Building is another show, kind of like it's a comedy show, but it's not a sitcom. I know that'd be one I'd think of as like a more recent comedy show, but again, you know, I mean, what would you guys even consider things like Community? Would you consider that a sitcom?
I have not watched Community.
Or the other one? What's the other one?
Surreal.
What's the one that had Ed
nonsense.
O'Neill in it? I'm trying to remember the name too. That it was out at the same time.
Modern Family.
Modern Family. Either one of those. Would you
For
consider
me-
those sitcoms?
Modern
me, a
Family, I couldn't
sitcom-
get through. I like Ed O'Neill, and I didn't even mind that he was with a woman that
What
looks
would
nice,
we-
but I couldn't watch
But
it.
will we consider it a sitcom
I-
whether we like it or not?
For me, a sitcom is a stage, like it's a live performance of people on a small set. You don't have like 6 or 7 locations. You like with Married with Children, it's the living room, right? And the kitchen is next to the living room. That's the
Yeah.
set. Sometimes you would splurge for something a little bit different on a special occasion, but you have an audience in a studio watching the actors on a stage live.
Yeah.
Right.
And not a
Camera
fake
is
shaky
pointed at them.
camera like a documentary camera
Yeah.
thing like
Right.
so many of those other shows
Exactly.
now.
Is Curb Your
Which-
Enthusiasm a sitcom?
Does it have those things?
See,
'Cause I
that's an
think
HBO
DC
comedy that
nailed
kind
it.
of falls in that gray area of it's a comedy show, I guess. I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. How do you
It's a skit show.
categorize those? See, because that's the same thing. Like Malcolm in the Middle was an earlier show, kind of like that too, where it wasn't quite a sitcom, but it wasn't. It was shot like a drama. You know what I mean? Like it was like
Yeah.
Wonder Years, but funny. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how else to explain it. It's that, and I wish Script Doctor was here because he'd be like, "Oh, that's a this, and that show." You know,
Was
like he'd know
Parker-
exactly what it was called.
Was Parker Lewis a sitcom?
No, but
Parker
that was
Lewis.
shot more like an HBO comedy. Yeah, see,
I
Yeah.
like
that
that
was
show.
actually
Oh, it was great.
Ferris Bueller, the TV show. But yeah,
Yes, yeah, that was the failed Ferris Bueller TV show that they just retooled for something else.
yeah, basically, it was the better version actually.
Exactly, no
Right.
kidding.
He
Original
somehow
ideas.
got
and
it right.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Mark Daly or Dolly, I think it's Daly. Either way, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it one way or the other. Sends in 5 and says, "Tom, you sold me. I want to see Raymond Chandler film noir mystery with Andre playing the lead private eye." You know what? I'll even up the ante a little bit. Neo noir. Or wait, just noir. Wait,
Yeah.
let me restart that.
Classic noir.
No, wait. Retro futurism noir.
Oh, jeez.
Yes. Like 1950s retro futurism noir.
Okay, all right.
Or wait, maybe we'll go 30s or 40s so it's more like Metropolis looking type shit. Get where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
All right, we got to get rolling here anyway. So I know you got
We're
to.
gonna roll.
Yeah, I didn't mind Modern Family, but again, that was shot like a more of a.
regular TV show,
Like a reality show or something.
Didn't that one even have
Like,
the?
it
Didn't that one
was-
even
it
have
was
the
like a
interviews and
reality
stuff?
show.
Yeah, Modern
Yeah,
Family
'cause they
had the
would talk.
interviews. I don't like
Yeah.
interviews. They annoy me.
I hate them too.
They're
And
cheap.
that's the
They're
sad part.
cheap
because
laughs. They're
there were
easy and
some-
cheap laughs.
They're an,
There were
That's
they're
what
an
it is.
insult by
Moments.
intelligence.
on Modern Family, there were some aspects of it that I appreciated. There are some pretty good parts, but yeah, the sit down and talk to the characters and the show. Oh, that was like, oh, hold on, is this a regular show or is this a reality show? Because that was just like that really took me out of it. Was where they had the sit downs with them. I hated that.
Yeah. Yes, giant robots in Neon Night, of course. How can we not have giant Art Deco looking robots?
There you go.
See, like all the buildings would be like Art Deco looking. Like everything would be dark and gray and black and white.
Yeah.
What about Bernie Mac? Sadly, he's no longer with us anymore.
Oh, what a guy! Bernie
the
But as
TV
far as
show,
his
maybe.
show, it was his show was great. That was a classic spin on your typical. I can't remember who said this once, but they were talking about how there's like only like 6 or 7 stories on television. Same kind of shows that keep getting told all the time. Like basically, you always have a doctor show on. You always have a cop show on. You always have some old person solving crime show on. You always, and your typical 3 or 4 types of sitcoms, which are basically your family sitcom, your odd couple sitcom, and your young people sitcom. Like, I can't remember who said this. It was probably like some prolific writer, and somebody in the chat might remember, but they were talking about this one time, and I kind of disagreed with them at that time, but the longer I look at it, I'm like, you know what? They're kind of right. And
Yeah.
soap opera, I think, was the other one too, right? Like, so like, yeah.
Workplace sitcom, maybe if you want to get more.
Well, they named all these shows off. There's like only 7 or 6 like different kinds of scenarios in each one of these type of stories they're saying, and at any given time, that's why. And I even made the joke because like we got to a point where they just quit redoing the doctor show that we're on, and we just said, fuck it, we're going to keep Grey's Anatomy on for like 30 years.
Jesus.
Like,
never
fuck,
seen
why
an,
even
never seen an
try?
episode. Never seen.
Why
an episode.
try another doctor show at this point? Because at the time we had ER, Chicago Hope. Another one would come along, and before that was St. Elsewhere and whatever.
Because of South Park, because like I remember that episode. I can't remember a South Park episode, but it was when some of all the kids were in relationship. And like, oh, we love watching Grey's Anatomy. I'm like, oh, it's that type of show. Okay, I don't want that. So for all I know, it's South Park, and maybe
It
I
went to
took it
hell
too
since they lost
literally.
McDreamy anyway.
No,
I'm just kidding.
You know
the
the
show for
terms.
women that Grey's Anatomy.
Hey, I'm a Patrick Dempsey fan.
That's fine, but that show is for women.
It is. No, I totally.
He almost became Doctor Strange.
ER and Chicago Hope probably were the peak of that after St. Elsewhere, and I mean those were probably the best that we were going to get up to that point.
I've
I don't know,
never met a
unless there's
man-
one from the
30
past I'm
seasons.
forgetting.
I've never met a man that watched those
MASH
shows.
would be the other option, I would say.
Mash was huge, straight up huge.
I watched St.
Tom, have you
Elsewhere,
ever met a man that watches Grey's Anatomy?
Not really.
No.
Not a real man, anyway.
But,
I'm
There
sure
are no-
Soy
Grey's
Chi
Anatomy is a
watches
bit,
it. I'm sure Soy Chi, during when he is not busy getting his ass kicked by his sister, he's probably watching Grey's
True.
Anatomy.
Probably.
So,
I got into
Clobby-
the second season of Grey's Anatomy, and then I just didn't.
Oh, hold up!
go
Hit
any
us-
Got
further
my goat
with it.
milk.
I wanted Clobby to hit us with a few classic doctor shows we may be missing.
Doctor shows about doctors.
Not Doctor Who, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Doogie Howser.
Trapper John.
Oh,
MD.
Doogie Howser. That was fun. Trapper John. Yes. Well, he also said MASH, but yeah.
I used to watch that for some reason. Every episode they go out in public, he and Gonzo, and somebody would drop sick.
I just wanted to make
Convenient.
sure I didn't miss something from like the 50s or 60s or something.
Oh well,
maybe.
Dr. Kildare, but Ben
Okay.
Casey. There's Marcus Welby, MD,
Quincy, they're saying in the chat.
Medical Center. Yeah, Quincy was a. he
Dr.
was a-
Doolittle.
Does
He was
Dr.
a-
Quinn Medicine Woman count?
Quincy was a coroner.
Dr. Quinn Medicine.
That's a twofer. That's a Western and a doctor show.
Yeah.
Quincy,
Ooh, Diagnosis
Quincy-
Murder. Diagnosis
Yes.
Murder.
yeah,
That's
Quincy
old
was
person
was
in a
coroner.
doctor show solving crimes. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
I know, right? See?
Yeah, It was so
Combo.
ridiculous. Quincy was a coroner. He doesn't count. Wait, did
Jack
someone
Klugman.
That's
mention?
true.
Did someone mention St. Elsewhere?
Oh, The Fugitive, of course. Yeah. Yes, I did mention St. Elsewhere. Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
It was the one-armed man.
Fugitive was
Of
great.
course.
He was a
I'm
doctor.
talking about the movie. He was a doctor in the original show, though, wasn't he? Or
Yeah, they both were.
Yes.
Both
I have
movie
not
and
seen
show.
the original show since I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the Blu-ray. I'm waiting for a Blu-ray. I don't want to buy the DVD. It's too expensive.
Ah,
I'm
they
like,
haven't done one. That was a good show. Good show.
It's gotten a DVD release, but not a Blu-ray release yet.
Oh.
Oh yeah, Dr. David Banner, the worst doctor in television history.
Doctor.
Oh, man.
He's a great social worker
Yes.
and a great detective.
He's Doctor. So I was just calling him the incredible social worker.
Yeah, right. Like the thing is I would never let him do more than give me stitches.
Well, he was. I don't know if he was an MD anyway. I mean, he was, but he was.
No, he was a scientist
He was a
doctor or
scientist.
whatever. But yeah, no, I know, but he was always good at that kind of stuff. Like he could always deliver
Yes.
a baby or some shit if you needed him to.
Yeah, he was really smart. Yeah.
But he was horrible at the scientist stuff.
The way Patrick McDowan did a very short-lived series called Rafferty. He was a doctor in that.
House, a couple people mentioned in the chat. Yeah, House was always fun. When I seen some of those. Bones was when I remember. Well, that's a cop show more so, but yeah.
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 That's a cop show, yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was a coroner too, right? Like Quincy was.
The Quincy was so
Was,
ridiculous. I mean, I like Jack Klugman, but he's the freaking coroner. Why is he investigating murders?
They would find. That's what I love about some of the old shows is where they'd find the weirdest excuses
Mhm.
to have
Ooh.
these people like why would Matlock be solving all his murders? Because that's why he costs
Every
so
week.
much. That's what he does.
Father Dowling. Father
He
Dowling
solves
mysteries.
more murders than most detective
DJ
agencies.
Jessica
Matlock-
Fletcher. Jessica Fletcher would write books.
Oh, Jessica
and-
Fletcher's great. Oh god.
Almost
Oh,
everybody,
Murder, She Wrote.
Matlocks, they were always he got him off with he got him off for murder like in one episode, in
Yeah.
1 hour, and he got the interest of that. He nailed the murderer too.
And he found the
He
real
didn't-
killer. Exactly.
Right, he
Yeah.
always found the-
Yeah. Just Columbo. Only need Columbo.
yeah.
Just one more thing. There is a doctor technically. Yeah, Quantum Leap. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
He's a
that's true.
scientist doctor, but yeah.
That's true. He'd solve crimes.
Madlock.
Yeah.
God, I can only imagine what Grandpa thinks of the new Matlock with Kathy Bates.
Is that really out
jeez.
yet?
I don't know if it's out yet, but yeah,
Aren't they rebooting Murder She Wrote? I heard they were doing that.
I think that's another one I
Why
heard about
not?
too. Yeah,
They
What was
wanted
that
to
called?
reboot it with
That was called
Octavia
Castle.
Spencer, but I don't know what happened with it.
Oh god.
Murder She Wrote was called Castle.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Murder He Wrote.
Well, and that goes back to the original point I was making: is that there's only so many different shows you can make at a time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Only so many combos and. Yeah.
Got us a whim. I'm with you. I love Briscoe County Jr. It was
Oh
taken
God, short-lived, but
Yeah. taken from us
Amazing.
too soon. I love
great
that show.
show. Great fucking show.
I got a big list of shows that were brilliant, but didn't last long
Yeah.
enough to take it from us too soon.
Big.
You know what is a good combo? Longmire. Mysteries, Western, modern. Longmire is really good.
Yeah.
I think it's on Netflix now, but yeah, Longmire's great.
See, and now, like, I like things like also like oh God, I just forgot the damn name of the show. It had where he was the bail bondsman, and he also
Where did Nick go?
Yeah, Nick just disappeared.
oh, he probably had to get ready for a show. That's why.
Mm.
So check out Nick's show. This will probably send you over to there afterwards. Yeah, I'll set that up. I'm gonna try and bop in if I can.
Toxic Tuesdays.
Toxic Tuesday. That's right. Oh, maybe nope. He just had an issue. There we go. Maybe he's getting some of the weather I had earlier.
No weather yet. It's still fine out. I don't want to jinx myself, so I'm gonna literally knock on wood. There we go.
I figured you had to run anyway, and I just missed your message.
No, you're good. I'm enjoying listening to this part of conversation.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up here soon anyway. So
okay.
And I know you got a show to be getting ready for anyhow.
I do, yes. And 20 minutes. Toxic Tuesday. This is the first of 3 straight weeks of The Punisher. Tonight we start off with the Dolph Lundgren version. You know, the guy that, according to Brandon Lee, has the biggest dick he's ever seen.
The man who almost kills Stallone.
Yeah,
Right.
yes, the man who must break you. So we're gonna do the Dolph Lundgren.
I don't ever want to
1989
hear anybody say that Rocky IV is bullshit ever again.
Oh, dude, it is not. Rocky IV.
Love that
Fuck
movie.
it, he almost died.
He killed our boy Carl Weathers in the movie.
He's
It
like,
was
come on,
horrific.
come on, hit me, hit me that goddamn hard, Dolph.
Dude. But yes, I love Rocky IV. But yes, anyway,
7 days he was in the hospital because of that.
Oh,
Did you guys ever hear that story?
Yeah.
No. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember.
Okay, I was gonna say
now.
you should have, Nick, but like,
Yeah.
okay, Price has, but yeah, when they were doing Rocky 5 or 4, I mean, sorry, Dolph hit him so hard so many times in the scenes that he went home and he wasn't feeling too good, and all of a sudden his blood pressure spiked at 200 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he went into the doctor and they found out his heart was swelling because his heart had gotten shaken inside of his rib cage
Mhm.
from getting hit so fucking hard by Dolph. So that movie wasn't as much bullshit as you think it is. He almost killed Rocky for real.
Yeah.
7 days he said he was in the
hospital.
hospital. It was touch and go. They said they even had the priest. He said he woke up when the priest was giving him his like last rites or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how much he's exaggerating of the story, but that's what he had said. I've heard the story a couple times, but
Yeah,
Well,
I've heard variations of it as well.
yeah, I didn't know he was in the
I
hospital for
believe that.
7 days though.
Ooh, I believe that.
But it's basically like
by
a heart
Dolph
attack,
Lundgren?
basically. Yeah.
Getting hit by Dolph Lundgren that bad too. Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
So yeah, come hang out on Toxic Tuesday. It's in less than 20 minutes. We're gonna have a blast, and if we didn't get to your Punisher, we will soon, because there's Thomas Jane and there's Ray Stevenson as well to come. So, but at least join us so we can eventually debate who was the best and the worst.
So I was right the first time. Thank you, Mark Daly. See, sometimes I second guess myself too much on that stuff. But we got this one here. Okay. Then we got another one from Mark Daly who says, "Rest in peace, Bill Bixby." Yes. Pour one out for David Banner. We always liked him, even when he was angry. Yes, we did. That was very sweet. Dearest sends in $2. Says, "Space Precinct, great cop show." I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Ted Shackle,
Cop Rock.
Gary Shackleton.
Cop Rock. There you go.
Gary Shackleton
Thank you.
was on this show.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Space Precinct didn't last long.
How old is it?
Syndicated. Oh, 90s, somewhere in the 90s.
Okay.
Syndicated. Yeah.
Cop Rock. That's another good one.
Yeah, I know, right? I remember that one.
Stephen Bochco.
Bochco.
Oh, Lord. You know, yes, I enjoy this one, but the one that Nick's got on tonight is the one that's actually my favorite Punisher movie. I'm not going to lie.
Ooh. Nice.
I think Dolph was just looked most like him. I mean, there's some issues with this movie. Don't get me fucking wrong. Especially when he's sitting there naked.
A few times.
I like to sit in the dark.
He was, in retrospect, he thought about Mad Mardigan before. He thought about Mad Mardigan before Mad Mardigan was born.
It's like a Mad Mardigan movie. You're right.
It's because it's like there's like one lady in the entire movie, and Frank Castle's naked twice.
There's no reason why I'm sitting in the dark naked, but I kind of like how the sewer feels on my balls. There's a cooling effect.
On that note, I have to split, unfortunately.
Yes, we're gonna wrap this up anyway. Subscribe. You go ahead and lead us off. Tell us what you got going
on. So tomorrow's special event, Script Doctor will be joining me for a special TED Excellence at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to take a look at somebody purporting to give us an answer to the teacher crisis in America. How do we solve the teacher crisis?
Hire some decent teachers for one.
Well, that might be as simple as a solution as we get. I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be something more complicated than that. I debated between finding
anybody who's smart don't want to teach.
Yeah, I debated between finding something that was in Script Doctor's professional wheelhouse, but I thought, I can save those for later. I'll just random them up with a.
Yeah, I'd like to join in on one of those one of these days. Yeah.
Well, let me know. We'll line it up.
Well, if you find something you think is up my alley, then yeah, definitely.
Oh, anything and everything could be, but I'll keep you in mind.
Sure. So check out Scribe Light's channel, and that'll be when again, you said?
That'll be tomorrow, Wednesday, the 22nd at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and I'll get a link to my channel in the chat here in a minute.
Followed by your local news.
That too. But thanks for having me on, guys, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Take care, buddy.
See you later, man.
Hi, everybody.
Later, bud.
Thanks for popping in. All right, and Nick, I think you got to leave next. So what do you got going on? You got Toxic Tuesday with Dolph Lundgren. I think we've pretty much laid that out there. What else you got going on?
I will actually have my review up, hopefully by Friday, Saturday, of Ghost of the Badlands, Razor Fist and George Alexopoulos' Ghost of the Badlands, and of course Comic Shop Talk Friday night. D. Bud Martin, one of the great wrenches of Midnight's Edge, will be a part of it. We'll continue our Amazing Spider-Man saga as well. So yeah, that's what's coming up on my channel. So yeah, thanks for having me, Tom. It was a fun show to be a part of. Do not watch Lady Ballers, but come watch Toxic Tuesday instead. It's way better. So, and it's not behind a paywall. So
it's
huge. Thanks for having me. It's huge.
Always. Like I said, I will try to bop in there later, but this should redirect everybody over there since it's starting soon anyway. And CC, what you got going on?
Still no karaoke this week. I'm going to say that now, so I'm not committing to it. But I'm hoping next week,
all sad now.
Next Friday, we'll get back to it.
All right. Sounds good. Check out CC Karaoke in the meantime. Price, what you got going on?
Well, at 10 p.m., I'm going to be on Diabolical. How could I fumble that? Diabolical Souls channel, which is he's also known as the Gooch, and we're watching Scavenger's Reign. I think episode 11, and then at 11:45 p.m. I have the Night Owl with Dread Roberts.
Awesome sauce. Sounds good. And last but definitely not least, because I wanted to ask you if you'd be interested or knowing a few people besides maybe Script Doctor would love to join us to talk about Little Shop of Horrors when I drop that, the original Corman Classic Klobby. That's something you might be interested in?
Oh, yeah. I love that book. But it's been a while, but
All right.
Thank you.
All right, I'll keep you in mind for that. Otherwise, what you got going on?
Well, I don't know if Loki, our buddy Stone Loki's going to have his comic roundtable tomorrow night because he never tells me till the day. So if he does, I'll be there at 9 Central. I will actually, it's Wildcard Wednesday night, but I'm going to have the great D Bud Martin on with me, joining me for the first time since about a year. We're going to review a couple of Iron Man comics. He is the king of Iron Man. He knows more about it than anybody, and he's written a book on the subject of Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Does whatever an iron can.
An Iron Man can.
Irons clothes any size. Oh, you said irons.
Isn't that a Adam Sandler skit from SNL, if I remember right?
I don't know. If it's Adam Sandler, I probably don't know anything about it.
Can't remember. Who was it? Somebody else in chat will remind me. Pretty sure it was an SNL skit. Because the teacher's like, that's a great job you did there. And they're like, no, you didn't. He just changed the words from Spider-Man to Iron Man.
Oh, well, I didn't hear that. I never saw that.
Yeah, I think it's like an SNL skit where they're in school and like
Well,
he's like, I wrote a song about my favorite superhero, Iron Man.
Wow.
Iron Man does whatever an Iron Man can.
Damn. Thursday, I'm going to have a special show at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're celebrating my 50th anniversary, but also 500th show on YouTube and 1500th show overall. And I'm just going to hang out there a little bit. And of course, I know you're a busy man on days like that, Tom. But if you want to stop by, of course, I'd love to have you. And anyone who
just
can,
send me the link if I can. I'll pop in.
Yeah, I know you're going to be doing stuff because that time of day. I know you're going on the shows, but the invite's open, brother. And so I'm just going to do that for just a couple hours on. It's the only day I could fit that one in there. So
no worries. I'll definitely try to squeeze it in. Like I said, just send me the link.
Cool, I will. But Thursday afternoon, and then of course Thursday night, the clubhouse is back in session. My wonderful first officer and the great Mark D with the C joined me for a Blake 7 episode review and Kolchak episode review and a Star Trek comic review. And then Friday night on my good buddy J-Man's channel, we continue our review of all of Jack Kirby's run on the Fantastic Four, his classic run. And then, of course, Saturday night Star Trek. But my wonderful first officer, Raquel, 9 p.m. Central, starting Star Trek Voyager Season 7, 4 episodes of that. So thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate it.
As always, we love having you here. And with that, I bid you all adieu. And yes, Sadie, I know it is time to go out.
Hey, doggy.
See ya. Yeah.